Alright, here's another video. This one is more specifically towards 6 years ago me, and something that I wish I kind of knew back then that it worked out for the better, I think, 6 years later. So this is the idea of just getting into a field because there's money there. And you'll pretty much hear this if you're any type of high school student going into college and your relatives are asking, so what are you going to do for a living? It pretty much happens to all of us. And everyone has their recommendations. Everyone's going to tell you what they think you should go into, whether you should go and work in a hospital or a dentist office or in a bank and be a bank teller, or starting a restaurant, or technology and working as servers, or working for IT for a bank. Everyone's going to tell you what they think you should do. And that is where it gets a little dangerous. And 6 years ago, Jacob, I don't know, made the best choice, but made a choice, I guess. And so I want to talk about just getting into a field and the danger of just getting into a field because that field is making money at the moment. So one of the fields that people say just get into is technology, like what I do. And so people think that they can just get into technology and learn how to do the services that I offer, essentially. And you can. You can sit there and you could study. You can go to take college classes. You can watch YouTube videos, go in forums, and learn how to do what I do. That's how I learned. I went to college classes. I go in forums. I still watch videos. I still continuously learn how to do these things I do. This computer here is doing a system restore at the moment. And then this one back here is waiting for a customer to give me the green light to continue working on it. But you can learn these things. Anyone can learn them. That's not the problem. You can learn anything that you try to put your mind to. That's not really what I want to talk about. The idea of getting into a field because it makes money is the part I want to talk about. So if you think that you're going to make a lot of money in tech because people have made a lot of money in tech before, and you think you're going to be one of those, I don't think you've picked the right field for you. And part of this is a good example in just my daily life. So I work 9 to 5 here. It is my daily job. I work 9 to 5 fixing computers. Whether it's these two I have right at the moment or a couple up in the front I'm waiting for customers to give me the green light on, I am always working on computers from 9 to 5. And if you want to get in tech, that is what's going to happen to you. You're going to work on computers from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever your business hours. If you work for a bank, it's probably going to be about the same hours for a bank. But you may work a graveyard shift in a server farm or of some sort. But it doesn't stop there for the majority of the people in the field. So when I get off work, 9 to 5, I get off work at 5, I'm home by 5:30, I eat dinner. Then what do you do? For the most IT people that are in this field, we don't go and start watching TV. We don't go and start planting, tulips, or we don't go and start playing sports or something. We go back into the IT field. We do this because we like it. For example, right behind this desktop here, I have a little laptop server. It's running Debian Linux with a Docker something, that's what I'm learning now. And it's running multiple Docker containers. And I'm practicing that here during my moments of free time. And at home, I now have a Dell PowerEdge R420. It has 24 threads and 24 gigs of registered memory. And this thing is running probably 11 containers of Docker at the moment and multiple virtual machines. And this is something that I work from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then I go home, I eat dinner. And then for the next 4 hours between dinner and bed, I'm now playing with Docker servers and learning all of these new server-side skills because I'm not into IT for the money or the quick buck or whatever people may push for it. I'm in it because I enjoy it. I would rather work on a unraid Docker server than watch the latest TV series. I would rather work on the Docker server than, sometimes hang out with friends outside. I would rather work on this Docker server than play a video game sometimes, depending on the video game. And that's one of those things that when you're looking at your life at that 16, 17, 18 years old. What do you want to do? A lot of people are like, well, a lot of people are making money, in the IT field, in the server field. You should get into that. As in, you should get into it, not you are into it. And so you want to look at not what you should get into, but what you are into. So if you're into, social brain working or something, you shouldn't get into IT, because you're going to find out that a lot of people have some really sick things that they look up on their computer. But you should probably go into therapy or counseling or something to do more with the human mentality. If you're into art, you would go into some type of art. If you're into cooking, you would go towards the cooking side. You wouldn't go into IT, because you're not into IT. You're into this. And that's something that 6 years ago, Jacob was into computers. I was doing motion tracking. I was doing 3D modeling, where you like animation. And I was into computers and general IT. I am a little bit still into 3D modeling. I still 3D model. I still slice. And now I 3D print. That's something that hasn't changed over the 6 years. It's adapted and continuously grown. We're building those new mouse wheels, and we're running the mouse wheels we were running 6 years ago, now with extra gear ratios or whatever you want to call it. The mouse wheels are there, and I'm still building new mouse wheels on top of it. But I've always been into IT. I wasn't wanting to get into it. That's something that I found and I liked. So you need to find something that you're into. What is it that you enjoy doing? Because if you try to get into IT and you're not in it, you're going to get railroaded by the guys that really enjoy it. I know way more about Windows 10 than probably the average human. And it's not because I work on it from 9 to 5. That's because I work on it from 9 to 5 and then from 7 to 12. And I think that that's something that a lot of people just don't understand, is that it doesn't stop when the clock stops at the end of the day. It continues and it keeps going. And that's where you find out what you really enjoy. So one of the good examples is that I enjoy playing video games. Of course, I'm an IT guy. Most of us enjoy playing a video game or two. I took 3 college classes on video game development. I wanted to get into video game development. I wanted to be, the guy that made a really cool video game. After an entire semester, 3 semesters, a whole year of taking video game classes, I found out I can't program. I am terrible at programming. So I switched up and I went into computer networking and infrastructure. The CCNA through Cisco, Certified Cisco Networking Administrator. Yeah. And I did that entire thing over 2 years, I believe. And I was a lot better at that. It wasn't programming technically, I guess, but I was able to configure smart switches and routing and make subnets and all of this back in the day. And I'm learning it all again now with Unraid and Docker images and creating smart homes and network-wide ad blocking and gaming servers. And part of this that's pushing me is the gaming servers. I enjoy playing video games with friends. And instead of buying a game server and renting it monthly for, $12 or $20 or $40 a month, I can just buy a $200 server, set it up at the house, install Unraid, install Docker. And this is something that I enjoy doing. This is something that I work 9 to 5 doing this stuff, where I fix Windows. I make people who made computer mistakes back up and running. That's what I do 9 to 5. But then I go home, I eat dinner from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7, whatever. And then for those other 4 hours I have during the day that I talked about in the time management, I'm building more servers. And it's not something that I'm getting into or I should get into. It's something that I've been into for the last 6 years at this point. And so that's one of the things I wanted to tell past Jacob from 6 years ago, is that you did make the right choice. You didn't get into or try to get into a field that people are telling you, currently, the health field or the financial field, these people are making the 6 figures and this will lead to the happy life. I might be happy with 6 figures, but I'm also happy now with not 6 figures yet, right? We always dream. So for the 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, don't look at what you should get into. Find out what you're already into. Find out what is interesting to you, and what have you been doing for the last 4 years? What have your interests been? And look into going farther into those. They'll change, I was really into 3D modeling for video game development, in 3D modeling characters and animating the characters for the walking animation, the jump animation, the run animation, the punch animation, all these different things. I was really into it to the point that I was investing in the 3D tracking software and multiple cameras and creating space in my bedroom to do all of this really wild tracking stuff. 6 years later, not so much into that anymore. But those 3D modeling skills I still use today. I still open up my 3D modeling software, make 3D models, but instead of animating it for attempting to build a video game, I'm now slicing it and 3D printing them. That's a skill that I've continued to use because I was into it, and I'm still into it, and I'll probably still be into it tomorrow, in the next 6 years, in the next 12 years. So when you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life, definitely look at what is interesting to you now, and what was interesting to you a year ago, and what was interesting to you 3 years ago, and what was interesting to you 5 years ago, because chances are that's going to slowly change, but still be there. It's still going to be there in a year. It's still going to be there in 3 years. It's still going to be there in 5 years. And so that is really the takeaway of this video, is that if you try to get into tech, you are not going to get into it, because you're not going to be working on it 9 to 5, because everyone else in tech is not doing it from 9 to 5. I might wake up early one day, and instead of sitting there and playing on my phone or looking at memes, which sometimes I do, but I might have those 2 extra hours to rebuild the array. So I woke up early one morning last week, and I spun down the array for my server, and I reconfigured the SSD array, because we're running an SSD array for this game server. Super complicated, not very important, but I had made a silly mistake when I was originally setting it up, realized it overnight, woke up early, spun down the array, reconfigured the RAID array, and then spun it back up and got everything working before going to my 9 to 5, before working on these computers. And then I'm going to go home, and I'm going to continue to work on this RAID array. Well, it's pretty much done, but I'm going to continue to work on the server. And that's something to look at, no matter what you get into. So if you get into cooking, you're not going to just be a chef from 9 to 5 or whatever chef hours are, because you're going to be competing against chefs that stay late, that get there early, that work on their recipes. And that is something I wish 6 years ago Jacob knew. Thankfully, 6 years ago Jacob, I think, made the right decision, stay doing what Jacob enjoyed doing. And on that weird note, the AC kicked on, which means this video is over. Y'all have a good one.